Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Samso. Paul Werndly, we had a nice long chat about GI just previously. I just wanted to sort of follow on that theme, in terms of how food and the sort of agriculture side can go in with, you know, how business is and what it means for us. So Paul, you know, I mean, we had a chat about, you know, off camera about the superfoods and the lemons, nettles, and I find that really interesting. I mean, we're drinking water now with the lemon skin on it and things like that. So yes, I think it's something, maybe it's a good intro, and then we can touch on the other topics that we want to talk about.
Yeah, well, the low GI chat was a fantastic chat, and getting some good feedback from both ends here. And then while we were chatting off camera, we were talking about nettles and lemons, because my background's food is medicine. So if I look at the herb, like the stinging nettle, when you brush it, it stings you, but when you dry that nettle, the sting goes away, and it actually is a superfood used in a lot of cultures. It's got a lot of properties. Blood sugar, it's a nutritive to start with, which is food is medicine. Anything that falls into the superfood category is automatically high in nutrition. So once you dry the stinging nettle, there's no longer any sting, and it's used in a lot of ancient cultures, Indian, Tibetan cultures, as a food as medicine. It's also have kidney properties and male tonic properties as well. Then we're talking about the lemon, and really highlighted how important the skin of the lemon is. It's actually probably top 3 of all superfoods in nature is the actual outside skin of hopefully an organic lemon, because you don't want the wax on there. Whatever else it's been sprayed with. But an organic lemon has, if you look at the skin of the lemon, the outside of it is more brighter yellow than the inside. And that's because the lemon actually puts its immune system and all its antioxidants to the outside of the skin. So if you use that skin in your cooking, zest it all over your salad, zest it over your fish and salad, put it in dressings and even in toppings and in your mayonnaises, etc., you're actually putting that superfood into your body. And the properties of that would be anti-aging, anti-disease, antimicrobial. Now, lemon skin has to be antimicrobial because it's the outside of the skin on the tree. So the lemon tree is trying to protect the lemon and the seed from viruses, bugs, mold, yeast, insects, and temperature changes. So that's why the outside of the lemon skin is so high in anti-disease and anti-aging properties. It's antioxidant.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, if you think about how we've got these natural foods, you know, especially in WA, I mean, lemons, everybody has lemons. Yes. And there's where I want to sort of go towards, is that just yesterday, the day before, I noticed there was a West Australian company that's tied up with a Thai corporation to market lupin snacks from a non-agriculture, non-farming background. That was really interesting, because I know that we have a lot of lupins, but maybe you can sort of expand on that from your side of view.
Yeah, well, lupins were first farmed in Western Australia in the 1850s, 1860s, which is really early considering we were only settled in 1829. And it was originally noticed that wherever the lupins grow, the crops would grow better that next year. So the farmers, without the science, started noticing this. So they're actually using the lupins to basically feed sheep, pigs, cattle. Okay, but then it was as lupin farming has developed and the more edible versions were grown, it being low GI, which links to our last topic, is that as it was developed, people started to, hold on, this is a superfood here. And as science developed over the decades, from the 1850s till now, Western Australia has become the biggest, I'm pretty sure it's the largest primary producer of lupins in the world. Well, Australia exports 80% of all lupins in the world. 80% of all lupin export is done by Australia. And Western Australia, where we're speaking from now, is the biggest of that. So Western Australia is really at the forefront of lupin production from a primary produce level. But now it's actually expanding into a real culinary level, and with lupins being from the legume family, leguminosa family, or pulse family, which really means pod. In ancient Latin, legume means pod, so there's similar foods from that family would be your kidney beans, soybeans, peanuts, pretty well chickpeas, all from the legumosa family, peas even, anything that comes from a pod. So, but with the lupins, they're particularly low GI, plus high protein, which is perfect for the world food. And you mentioned Thailand. They're working closely with Western Australia to provide a food source of lupins to Thai, and they're coming up with recipes and ideas to get that into the international market. And as a cook, I'm always looking at superfoods and different ways of taking the wheat flour and swapping it directly with lupin flour. It's almost a one-in-one swap. Then you can actually look at making pizza bases and muffins and taco shells, empanadas, etc. There's a lot of recipes that are yet to come as well, where lupins will just grow on the colouring table, but also in world food supply demand. So it's a real play between primary production and world acceptance and understanding, and even on a culinary level, where you start seeing it in cooking shows. And
okay,
so WA is, like I said, one at the forefront in the world in those areas.
I mean, this might come quite a naive question, but is lupin grown everywhere in WA, like in the colder climate area, or is it in the wheat belt area?
There's 100 species worldwide, and some of the original species originated from South America, Africa, and even some European Mediterranean countries had lupins, were endemic to that area. The West Australian lupins are mainly in the wheat belt. There's some pockets in the southwest and some pockets in the near Geraldton there, and even Wongan Hills was one of the original, in the 1850s. Wongan Hills area was one of the original growers of lupins. But it's, like I said, that was really for livestock, and the quality of the crops were improved. But now, with the food side, lupins aren't indigenous to Australia or Western Australia. Like I said, those other countries like Mediterranean countries and some African East Africa, but it grows really well. Anything that grows well in Africa grows well in Australia and West Australia, because of the similar climates, similar latitude, soil. Although in Gondwana land they used to be once joined Australia and Africa, so so anything that grows well in Africa grows very well in Australia and Western Australia. And the wheat belt's a perfect microclimate for that.
I mean, one of the things this guy said, lupins was, as you just mentioned, was mainly grown as feedstock.
Yes.
Do you see, you know, from an entrepreneur point of view, from a business point of view, or someone saying, hey, you know, is there something else out there that is similar?
So there's plenty of opportunities for entrepreneurs in West Australia and Australia, even to connect to international companies and international businesses. And like I said, combining legumes and pulses, or combining lupin flour with other already accepted flours, keeping with the low GI thing though, because the low glycemic index and low carb is a huge thing dietary wise at the moment. So it's maybe the trend is one of the trends is low carb. So lupins fits seamlessly into that. I can only see it growing, as far as, because I'm a health food chef. I can only see it growing, and on me using it more and more in the future, and combining and coming up with different recipes, like I said, and alternative swap outs.
I mean, I can see that the trend. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, wherever you go now, I mean, low GI food is everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, low GI bread, low carb bread, it's everywhere. As we spoke before, you know, low GI rice.
Yes, low GI rice.
And the people now, you know, although it was a trend, it was a trendy cafe, you went and had wild rice or brown rice, but I think these things are more often used now.
Yes.
So I think it's, you know, it's really interesting when I saw the article and they talk about this. I thought, geez, you know, I never thought about that. And they've obviously got some sort of, you know, they had packets, so it's like snacks.
Yes.
So I mean, snacking is kind of a habitual thing that human beings do, you know, and that's why, you know, things like smoking take off and things like that. But, you know, having a packet of CCs or chips, which if those things were healthy, then imagine the size of that market.
Huge.
Huge market,
Well, as we were saying in the last video too, that diabetes is plague proportions worldwide, and pre-diabetes, which a lot of people have got without knowing, huge numbers. If you talking 10% of Chinese population, etc., that's massive numbers, and it's only growing. So if we're actually looking at lupins being a new wave of food products, that will treat and help that. So if you put your lupin flour with stevia, which is a non-sugar sweetener, all of a sudden you get a low GI food snack. You're talking about snacks, and so you can actually reach into the bag and bring it, and it's not going to play with your insulin and your blood sugar levels, which would help with prevention of diabetes and prevention of pre-diabetes, which is pre-diabetes has got a lot of symptoms associated. Like I said, if people wake up at night, that's a worrying sign. If they wake up to go to the bathroom at night, that's a worrying sign for pre-diabetes. Wanting to sleep during the day, going to the toilet too much, craving sugars and carbohydrate foods is another sign. There's a lot of signs of pre-diabetes that a lot of people are displaying every day without knowing. So lupins and chickpeas, and the reason lupins and chickpeas are lower GI is they've got less carbohydrates, and they've got more complex carbohydrates in there that are harder to break down. So for the body to break those carbohydrates down in the digestive system, they release into the bloodstream at a slower rate. So it keeps the glycemic, like lentils are GI 32. GI, that's very low. And okay, even though you think lentils, aren't they carbohydrate? Yes, they are carbohydrate, but it's the complexity of the carbohydrates that are slow breakdown and slow release. And lentils are even lupin is even lower than lentils. So basically, make a lentil dal, and highly nutritious, a lot of protein there, which is good for the brain and good for your body repair. Good. I would even think that lentils and even lupins will be sports nutrition food in the future, like high-end sports nutrition.
I mean, can you actually buy lupin flour now in WA?
Yeah, there's a business in near Geraldton that actually grow lupins, and they've also got a bakery and a shop there where they sell lupin products. You can get lupin premix to make muffins. You get the raw lupin flour. Once you've got the standard lupin basic flour, it's up to you what you make from that. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of recipes is a one-to-one swap with wheat flour, and wheat flour basically higher GI, a lot, especially white flour, and you got the gluten in there, which a lot of people have problems with the gas and the bloating and tummy pains. With the lupins, you haven't got the gluten straight away. It's low GI, higher protein, so ticking a lot of boxes there, and it's a pretty well a one-to-one swap out with a lot of recipes.
Okay. Well, that's fantastic. Probably a good spot to sort of end this segment here, Paul. But I think there's a lot of traction here. I can see. I mean, I think the market is one of those big things. I mean, if you look at just trying to service that pre-diabetic number, like 10%, 30% in China. But don't forget, it's not China alone. We're talking about the US, we're talking about Australia.
Yep.
30% of US or 30% of India. I think it's just a trend there. I mean, that's huge market.
Massive numbers, yeah.
I reckon that's a trending place to go, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But thank you, Paul, for your time, and I think I'm looking forward to more sessions.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Ciao.